power and pulse. And this has been breaking news from Burkina Faso.
Welcome once again to African Lights. We return today with a detailed breakdown of a delicate diplomatic and military situation that has unfolded in West Africa. This report examines a recent episode involving Burkina Faso, Nigeria, and the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, an incident that has drawn the attention of aviation officials, regional defense observers, and international analysts. The central focus is the verified release of 11 Nigerian military officers who were held briefly in Burkina Faso after a Nigerian Air Force C-130 aircraft made an unexpected and unauthorized landing in Bobo Dioulasso. What elevates this event beyond a routine aviation issue is the series of developments that followed: heightened military readiness, intense diplomatic exchanges, firm statements from Sahel defense authorities, and ultimately, the quiet return of the detained officers. African Lights will present this situation in a strictly neutral manner, distinguishing processed facts, official comments, and interpretation from various regional perspectives, confirmed events and initial incident. Multiple regional and international security bodies have confirmed that the aircraft that landed was a Nigerian Air Force C-130 transport plane, carrying 2 crew members and 11 uniformed Nigerian officers. Reports indicate that the aircraft was en route from Nigeria toward Portugal when it entered Burkinabe territory and landed in Bobo Dioulasso, Burkina Faso's territorial authorities announced that the aircraft did not request formal entry clearance into Burkinabe airspace, did not obtain official landing authorization, breached established national aviation protocols. In response to these violations, security personnel from Burkina Faso moved swiftly to intercept the aircraft. The officers on board were secured, and authorities initiated what they described as preliminary investigative procedures to understand the circumstances behind the unexpected diversion, detention, and subsequent release. On Tuesday, Burkina Faso released an official confirmation that all 11 Nigerian military officers had been allowed to return home. According to the authorities, after basic questioning and routine security checks were finalized, the individuals were cleared and faced no formal accusations. Security officials in Burkina Faso, speaking to international outlets, emphasized that there was no mistreatment, no prolonged detention, and no criminal charges filed. Their release was handled discreetly, a sign that the Burkinabe leadership wanted to prevent the incident from escalating into a regional dispute. Independent analysts have largely interpreted this decision as although the release has been completed, the explanations coming from both Nigeria and the AES differ noticeably. Nigeria's position. Nigerian authorities explained that the C-130's landing was caused by a technical emergency, stating that the diversion was consistent with global aviation safety norms. They noted that the personnel were treated respectfully and that the aircraft would continue toward Portugal once technical checks were complete. Nigeria has not publicly accepted any claim of airspace violation. Burkina Faso and AES stance. Burkina Faso, supported by fellow AES members Mali and Niger, released a joint security communiqué asserting that the aircraft had breached AES airspace. The communiqué described the act as unfriendly and prompted AES air forces to enter maximum operational alert. The regional command reportedly issued orders to neutralize any aircraft entering their skies without authorization. Regional defense sources reported to journalists that Captain Ibrahim Traoré delivered a direct internal warning during classified briefings. These sources stated he warned that any repeat of such an incident could lead to the aircraft being shot down with missiles. African Lights clarifies that this assertion is based on multiple military sources but has not been officially broadcast by Burkina Faso's state media, and therefore is presented strictly as a reported internal directive. Broader regional context. This situation cannot be examined in isolation. Since early 2025, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger formally exited ECOWAS, citing concerns such as external political interference, ineffective security cooperation, and what they viewed as disrespect for national sovereignty. Together, they formed the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, aligning themselves both militarily and politically. Simultaneously, tensions have risen as Nigeria expanded its military and surveillance activity in the Benin Republic, while broader mistrust regarding foreign aircraft and cross-border flights has intensified across the Sahel. First French parable. Interpretation. When a bird crosses another man's field without singing, it should not be surprised when questions arise. This parable is used here to illustrate the prevailing belief that sovereign boundaries must be respected, and that silence or a lack of communication creates suspicion, even when intentions are harmless. AES response and military posture. Following the incident, the AES leadership confirmed that all regional air defense systems had been placed on full alert. Radar surveillance operations were increased, and new procedures for monitoring aircraft without authorization were implemented. AES officials described the C-130 landing as a serious infringement of sovereignty. Security analysts across Africa note that this reflects a new air defense doctrine in the Sahel, one that emphasizes preemptive deterrence rather than lengthy diplomatic processing. Nigerian continuation of operations. Nigeria's military leadership maintains that its aircraft acted in accordance with established global aviation rules. They insist that the mission posed no threat, that its personnel were carrying out legitimate duties, and that after inspection the aircraft would resume its journey to Portugal. The two opposing narratives make it clear that each side remains confident in its own account. Second French parable interpretation. A drum may sound loudly, but it never reveals the entire truth. This speaks to the reality that public statements often do not reflect the complete picture, especially during military or diplomatic disagreements. Role of international monitors. Independent global broadcasters, security think tanks, and defense agencies have verified that the aircraft did land in Burkina Faso. The officers were detained. Their release took place in differing accounts of the event persist. Moreover, several aviation tracking organizations monitored the aircraft's flight path, noting the unexpected change in course, the timing of the diversion, and the landing interval. Developments in Niger. During this same period, Niger introduced stricter inspection rules for goods originating from Nigeria. Colonel Muhammad Yakuba Saido instructed officials to unload and inspect all Nigerian products. These measures included tighter transit checks and expanded security screenings. Analysts interpret this not as preparation for conflict but as a symbolic reinforcement of sovereignty. When two rooftops receive rain, each believes its own rainfall was heavier. This parable captures the differing perceptions between Nigeria and Burkina Faso. Each side considers its version of events correct, despite interpreting the same situation. Importance of the officer's release. The crucial point in this entire episode is not the emergency landing, nor the brief detention, nor even the stern warnings reported by regional sources. It is the peaceful release of the officers. Despite the heightened alert levels and serious statements coming from the region, the resolution was entirely non-violent. The decision to release the personnel reflects a commitment to diplomacy and regional stability over confrontation. A wise leader opens the door even when he has the strength to clench his fist. This reinforces the significance of the release. True strength often lies in restraint, not aggression. A military aircraft entered another nation's airspace without documented clearance. It landed without authorization. Military personnel were detained, questioned, and later released. Strong warnings were reportedly delivered within AES command structures. Diplomatic escalation was avoided. This case highlights how airspace control, questions of sovereignty, distrust, and regional insecurity combine to create complex geopolitical challenges. At African Lights, our commitment is to explain events clearly, without inflaming tensions or taking sides. We acknowledge Nigeria's official explanation to Burkina Faso's sovereign right to regulate its airspace, the AES's heightened security posture, and the wider context of ongoing regional tension. Most importantly, we emphasize the peaceful resolution. No injuries occurred. No violence erupted. Dialogue prevented escalation. The river may be powerful, but the bank that doesn't overflow is the one that endures. This final proverb underlines the importance of restraint, choosing calm over conflict preserved, regional stability. This concludes African Light's Neutral Report. Thank you for joining us. Stay informed, remain calm, and keep observing developments across the continent. See you again on African Lights in our next update. Please like, subscribe, and activate the notification bell for future reports.